Alright, so before we even get into the video, I want to say thank you guys so much for 2.25k subscribers. We're well above that number, but we reached it, we surpassed it in legit 2 days. 2 days ago, we had 2k subscribers. Now we're at 2.2, I think it's not or 7 or something like that. But yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys showed me so much love on the how to build Zelda's video, so I'm gonna keep it coming. Thank you guys so much. But that's all I wanted to say. You guys are awesome. Keep doing what you do. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It's free. But let's go ahead and let's get into this video. So we're gonna go over mainly just the meta teams for PvP on global. I'm gonna do my best to explain the teams and the team comps and you know, just who you could replace on the team in general. So for starters, we have the Lostvayne Goddess Elizabeth team. Now this team, you guys already know, is absolute like toxicity at its finest. But instead of King, right, King is kind of falling off a little bit. So instead of King, people do run Green Gowther. Green Gowther is, I think he might be slightly better for this team because of his passive. Now, if you guys don't know his passive skill does increase attack-related stats by 7% for a maximum of 35%, as long as you have 3 opposing races on the field. So, since Meliodas is a demon, Elizabeth a goddess, and Gowther is unknown, that, you know, gets all the requirements filled to go ahead and increase their attack-related stats by 7%. This helps Meliodas so much. He just becomes an absolute disgusting unit. Oh, he already is, but with Gowther increasing his attack-related stats, it's literally game over, right? So King is a good option for it because King can heal, he can cleanse debuffs, he can petrify. His ultimate attack has shatter, which ignores resistance, which is very, very good. But Gowther is a better option, in my opinion, than King, just because he has dissolve in his passive skill, and he also ranks up skills too. So Gowther is a much better option, in my opinion, than King. But King is still good. King is still good if you don't have Green Gowther, because I know a lot of people don't have him because he is a exclusive unit. So there you go. Red Gowther, a long time ago, he was better than even like Blue King, but he's fallen off of this team a lot because of the fact that Green Gowther exists and Green Gowther does what he does, but better, right? But if you don't have, you know, Blue King built up, or if you don't have Green Gowther in general, Red Gowther is a very, very good option as well too. He attack disables, he also ranks up. He just doesn't have Green Gowther's passive. So there you go, right? And then you can use CC or ult gauge food. A lot of people run ult gauge food because like they don't mind going second. Keep in mind, when you go second in PvP, you automatically get 1 ult move orb just for starting. So you get 1, combine this with Merlin's passive, you get 2, and then if you use ult gauge food, you have 3 off rip, which is why people run ult rush. It's actually crazy, right? So again, very, very good. Fraudrin, I really don't think he's that good. I don't think he's a good option because most people would have to build him up. But since Ledocio exists, you're not gonna build him up. Like, let's be honest, you're not gonna build him up. Although he is summonable with part 2 tickets, I think race draw tickets as well. He's not really the best option, and he isn't that great. Like, he isn't that great of a unit. So at the very, very worst, yeah, you could use Fraudrin, but I wouldn't recommend, right? So I just wouldn't recommend. But you guys know this is like a top tier team with Green Gowther. So let's move on to the next team. The next team we have is the Lostvayne Ult Rush team. So it's similar to this, except this is a little bit more tricky to get around since King and Gowther, they are very, very good support units. But again, like, there's so many units you could run for this. Okay, so let's start off with Escanor. So instead of King, you could run Escanor. That's true, you could. Escanor would be a good option. Escanor hits very hard. He can remove buffs with his Cruel Sun as long as it's rank 2 or above. And then he also just hits hard with his ultimate. Now, I still would prefer King over Escanor, either one of these Escanors, but Red Escanor is a little better because he can, like, he just can merge his second skill to deplete orb, right? His charge and fire depletes orbs, so that's really, really good. He also is a little bit more tanky than the green one because, well, green Escanor is green, red Escanor is red, right? And then his passive skill helps him a lot because it increases his HP related stats by 50%, which is major. If you guys don't know, that's major. So very, very good. And his first skill is not going to help him much because he's not really being amplified with a buff, right? He's not really being amplified with an active buff. Gowther is increasing his attack related stats, but it's not an active buff. It's a passive buff that he's giving him. So it's not going to be the best damaging unit. If you do have him 6 out of 6, however, his ultimate attack is still going to hit very, very hard. So in my opinion, King is still the best for this, but if you really want to, you can replace him with these two. That's absolutely fine. Green Gowther, I wouldn't replace him with red, but again, if you don't have green Gowther, you could use the red one in his place. That's absolutely okay. But if you have green, green is obviously the better option. And then you have Goddess Elizabeth. Goddess Elizabeth is crazy, right? Goddess Elizabeth is crazy. You could replace her. You could replace either of these units for her, right? So you could put her right here or right there. Doesn't matter. Basically, these two are the same teams. It's just a little different, right? Of course, Merlin on the back, but it's just a little different. But yeah, CC and Oak Age Food, the same exact thing. And if you want to, you could use Red Skinny King instead of Merlin. That's mainly just to counter Pierce rate, right? Or Pierce teams, right? So if you put Red King on the back, you could counter Pierce teams, which is good. Pierce teams are low-key the underdog of PvP in the meta because no one really runs Red Skinny King. So if you fight against Pierce comps and you do have Red Skinny King, you're looking good. But again, people do run Merlin because it is Alt Rush, right? That's literally the name of this team. LV Alt Rush team. You're going to want to use Merlin and then CC Food when you go second. But if you're versing a Pierce team, you're going to have a really hard time. So it all depends. But these are the options that you could do to replace either of these units. Obviously, there are other units now, but these are the most optimal / realistic teams you're going to want to run for Alt Rush and like in Lostvayne and Goddess Elizabeth teams and Alt Rush teams. Those are the more realistic and optimal teams you're going to want to run, right? So that's Alt Rush for Lostvayne. Now we're going to move on to the 3 debuffs team. So King, Hendrickson, and Elizabeth. Now, the 3 debuffs team, I find myself actually enjoying it in ungeared versus geared, mainly because I don't want to build Hendrickson, but if you have the resources and the time to build him, you should. He's a very, very good unit when paired with Festival King. He's really, really top tier. Also, he has good CC. He actually does have really good CC. If you build it with an HP and defense set, he's gonna break over like 50k easily with dupes, right? With dupes, he'll easily break over 50k. Now, running Merlin in the back, I don't know. I think Death Pierce would be a little better, or just someone to boost them, right? Someone who works in the back other than Merlin, unless you're alt rushing with King. But Merlin, in my opinion, may not be the best choice, but it could work. It could work, right? So here, instead of Elizabeth, because honestly, I don't really like Elizabeth myself on this team. She is toxic, but I really would prefer Keo. My ideal setup is Keo, right, in place of her. Keo in place of Elizabeth is better in my opinion. Ledocio is a... Ledocio, right? You guys already know how dirty this man's is. And then actually Evil Lilia as well. So Evil Lilia in place of Elizabeth works phenomenally, right? She is crazy because she gives corrosion so long as the enemy team has less than, I believe it's 3 orbs or 3 alt move gauge orbs in their thing, right? So as long as they have less than 3 orbs in their alt gauge, she's giving them corrosion, which is very good because right there you have a DLT debuff. You're doing Hendrickson's 2 skills, which gives you 3 DLT debuffs. And then you have King using poison. That's 4 damage over time effect debuffs on the enemy. They cannot cleanse it. That's major. Breaking through Elizabeth's shield is gonna be cake. It's glass, sand, sandpaper. Anything, like, she's nothing, right? Her shield is legit nothing. And then King's skill 1 with 4 damage overtime debuffs, it's over. Literally over. It's craziness. It's craziness. So if you want to build her up, that's not a bad thing. She also does have really good CC as well. So build her with HP and defense. The whole team with HP and defense with a good amount of dupes in them. it's game over. It's game over. So that's where the 3 debuffs team really does come clutch, right? Unfortunately, there is no replacing King and Hendrickson, as they are like pretty much a power couple in this game, right? So they can't really be replaced. There really is no better option to run alongside King for debuffs than Hendrickson. That's just how it is. It's plain and simple, because he's gonna give you all like 2 debuffs, bleed and shock, and then King giving poison. That gives you 3. So literally remove their ult gauge by 1 right there. You've fulfilled the conditions to do that for King's passive. So very, very good. And again, any of these 3 units would be better than Elizabeth in my personal opinion. If you don't have them, then Elizabeth is your main choice to go, right? Green Gother is also a very good unit to run with them as well. So Pierce comp, right? They call him Pierce through on here. So Pierce team. Do I even need to say more? You could replace one of these with Hauser, but Hauser's pretty much like irrelevant, unfortunately, in the meta in this day and age, right? And then here you go. So instead of Rugal, you could run Escanor, which is good. That's what people were running before Rugal existed. They were running Escanor, or you could have run Ledocio. Now that's filthy. I'm gonna be honest with you, that's completely filthy. You have Ledocio built up. He out CCs the opponent. Then you use Meliodas Pierce. It's done. Literally done. You can't incapacitate Ledocio either, so you can't do anything about him. You could attack disable him, but Lilia with level 2 heal can cleanse it, which is very, very clutch. And then Meliodas just doing the damage that he does, crazy. It's really, really crazy. And then Skinny King, you can replace him with Greymoor, although I think Skinny King is your best bet, or Athena. Now if you guys don't know what Athena does, if you kill an enemy, she depletes the enemy's ult gauge by 2. So very, very good. Now here's some information on it. Top tier damage dealer that take advantage of Lilia's Pierce increase, of course, right? You want to build her with HP and defense. Make sure her attack gear has Pierce rate substats. So that's it. Countered by Valenti comps. I mean, yes, but no one runs Valenti, so that's not really a bad thing. No one really runs Valenti anymore, so that's not really a bad thing. I mean, maybe once in a blue moon you might encounter one, but again, not really the worst thing ever. Great against King Brom. You don't really even see King Brom teams anymore, but if you do, this is a great counter to them. So there you go, right? So Pierce team, pretty self-explanatory. Very, very good team. Underdog of the meta, because you don't really see much running, but when you do, it's very hard to counter them, or you just can't counter them because, again, no one runs Red Skinny King. So there you go. Now the Zeldris team, right? The Zeldris team is very top tier as well. Red Zell and Green Droll are another power couple that works very, very good together. They synergize greatly. Having Ledocio with them is monstrous. Now, honestly, you could probably run like Keo too as well. Again, Merlin on the back, it's good, but I feel like you could run a different unit besides her. So let's see. Yeah, Red Skinny King is a very good replacement for her. Red Skinny King not only has a lot of CC with HP and defense. If you built up any king, by the way, any king in the game works with sets. So you build him with an HP and defense. Mine's right now is at 52k. I can legit break 53k if I get all his substats maxed and his costumes maxed. He's legit going to be looking at 50 to 54k. So keep that in mind as well, which is much better than Green Merlin, because Green Merlin's CC is on a lower end, but that's to be expected. She's a, start of the game unit, right? So not only is he going to have better CC, but you can counter Pierce teams with King on the back, and they do massive damage already. Droll can disable buff and debuffs. Zeldris can disable recovery skills, also deplete orbs. He Ledocio. So yeah, really, really good team for the Zeldris team. Although there are other options you could run besides Ledocio. Like you could run Keo, you could even run like Lostvayne. You could run a lot of other units, but Ledocio would be one of the greatest, units to run alongside Zeldris and Droll. So there you go. Very, very top team. Endurance team. Now, this team you could run. Zeldris and Valenti and Lilia is very, very good with Guild Thunder on the back. Now, what they want you to do is they want you to really just counter everybody, because Valenti, you guys don't know, the more resistance she has, the lower their pierce rate. And then Guild Thunder is increasing your defense-related stats by 30%, which is amazing. So it's very, very good. Now, you could replace Zeldris with these two. Honestly, Keo might be a little bit of a better option than Zel, because Keo's ignites help reduce damage as well. So yeah, he could actually be a better option than Red Zeldris. If you don't have him, obviously Zeldris is a good unit to use, and Lostvayne as well. Instead of like Blue Lilia, I don't know about Green Lilia in all honesty. I know her passive helps as well, but I think Blue Lilia might just be better because she heals. She can deplete orbs alongside Zeldris if you decide to use Zeldris. I think she would be better. And then instead of Valenti, Merlin, but again, Valenti's pretty much better than Green Merlin in terms of trying to tank. So overall, I think instead of Zeldris, you could put Keo, but it would be Keo, Lilia, Valenti instead of Zeldris. So it's either this team or Keo instead of Zeldris. So very good. Now Mono Red has fallen off a lot. A good counter to this is Ledocio. Ledocio counters this team very good. Like, it's actually disgusting how hard he counters it. But when you find yourself facing this team, it is hard to counter. I will give you guys that. It is hard to counter it, but I feel like it's not as hard as it was at the beginning when these guys first, like, you know, came out. Oh my god, it was horrible. It was actually bad. But yeah, it's not as bad anymore. Now, instead of Escanor, you could run Derriere, but the reason why people run Escanor is because not only does he decrease all gauge, he can also like instantly kill green units. It's actually disgusting if he's buffed by Arthur, because he has Amplify on his skill 1. Levi, no. Levi, just no. I honestly wouldn't recommend Levi at all. He's fallen off a lot. Red King, you could put Hauser. I get it, because Hauser's passive increases humans' basic stats by 8%. So these Escanor and Arthur, these two are getting an 8% increase to their basic stats, but I still think King would be better for it because you could counter Pierce teams, right? Merlin, nah. Merlin, I wouldn't put. And then you could use attack, CC, or evade food. Don't use evade food. Don't be small PP energy. Don't use evade food. Please, dear, don't use it. Just don't use it. But attack or CC food would work very well, right? And then we get to the Derriere carry team. This is a team that's fallen off because no one really runs Derriere, but you could use this. It's a very good team, right? But I feel like nowadays you're just gonna find yourself getting countered. Derriere's good, right? She can do massive damage. King can also heal and he can attack disable, but I feel like there's just a lot more counters to this team nowadays. These are the units that you could run instead of Derriere. So yeah, there you go. King, and then there you go. But no one's really going to run this team. A cleave team. Now, a cleave team is very good. You notice how they have Death Pierce on the back because they want you to cleave with Escanor and Meliodas, with her increasing your pierce rate. So if you do massive, you can do massive damage, right, with this team. It's actually disgusting. Again, they say put Merlin, but nah, Death Pierce is pretty much your best bet. So again, this is pretty self-explanatory. A cleave team just to do massive damage. King Brom, honestly wouldn't recommend running this team. It's not as good as you guys might think it is. It's actually very low tier in my opinion. I don't even think it's S class anymore. I kind of think it's like B or C class. It's just not a very good team to run anymore nowadays. So yeah, King Brom is not that good. Alt Rush counter, again, not good. Estarossa is a very good unit. You could replace him, I believe. Okay, maybe not. But here are the units you could use to replace Gother or King. Again, Green Gother probably would be a little bit more viable. But yeah, so there you go. Not really a great team either. The Death Squad, I don't think this is optimal at all because both of these units will be stomped by Lostvayne. So yeah. Zeldris when okay, some of these go very back to when the game first started, but you can see how old some of these team compositions are, right? So again, these teams are not viable anymore, right? It starts to become unviable when you get to, I would say, right about here, right? So from here down, you just start to get a hefty amount of like just non-viable team setups. It's just bad. But again, these are when these teams are for when the game like first released, so keep that in mind as well. I mean, these are fun team setups, you know what I mean? Like some of these are really fun, but they're just not going to do much because of how the meta is, right? Amplify and Destroy, this looks like a really fun team, I'm not gonna lie. This one right here looks really fun. But yeah, these are just teams that you could use, right? But you guys already know what the top teams are in the PvP meta. Obviously, you don't have to use these teams. You can use your creativity and create more fun teams. But the global PvP is just so one brain cell. It's really not fun. It's really not. What you need to do is pretty much have Lostvayne go through and Elizabeth you won. It's really not fun anymore. So I'm waiting for when more strong units release, like Sariel. So when Sariel comes out, right, that'll be really fun to use. He'll be really fun to use, trust me. But yeah, so that was it for this video. If you did enjoy, again, consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribe for more Grand Cross content. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section on the teams. Do you think these teams are obviously these are the top tier teams, but do you think these teams right here are still viable? Do you think they'd be fun to use? Let me know what you guys think. But with that said, guys, I will see you all next time.